everyone, I'm Annie Finberg. I am the Senior Coordinator of Digital and the digital host for the Atlanta Hawks. I wanted to welcome you to our Hawks Talent GC virtual event and Q&A. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll go ahead and jump right in. First off, let's welcome Hawks Talent GC head coach, Wes Acuff. Wesley joined the organization as the team member and head coach of Hawks Talent GC, the NBA 2K League team of the Atlanta Hawks. He focuses on player operations and in-game strategy. Additionally, he oversees the day-to-day operations of the team and assists with business operations. Prior to entering this role, he was in the eSports industry. He was recognized as one of the top 250 NBA 2K players in the world prior to the inaugural NBA 2K League 2018 season. So with all that, welcome, Coach Wes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Annie. Hello, everyone. So like Annie's saying, as the coach and kind of the person in charge of the team, the job really is simple. It's put the best winning team we can on the floor to go out here and try and get this city a championship. So that's pretty much everything she said rolled into one small goal.
Along with all your amazing accolades, let's talk about the team right now. They're on a 3-game winning streak, and there's a big game coming up soon. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we're 3-1 right now. Trying to build on previous game momentum going here, and we face the Raptors this week, so it's a pretty tough team. Just preparing as best we can, watching a lot of film, practicing, trying to get ready to go out here and expand this record and move on to 4-1.
And you mentioned the Raptors are a great team. What makes them such a tough team to go up against?
They have really good chemistry. They've played together for a long time, even before the league. That is a team that's played the retail version of the game together. So that's pretty much what makes them a good team. They have really good IQ and they play together well. But they can be as good as they want to be. We feel like we're moving into a space where our chemistry is developing just the same quickly, and we feel really competitive. So we're looking forward to the matchup against them.
Awesome. Well, we are so excited. We'll all be tuned in, and I'll provide our audience with how they can tune in if they don't know how at the end of this. I'll go ahead and introduce our partners over at Northside Hospital Sports Medicine Network. First, we have Dr. Vonda Wright, who is the orthopedic surgeon and chief. We have Dr. Matt Lopez, senior sports physical therapist. And finally, last but not least, Lauren Cincinnelli, who is the registered sports dietitian.
Hi, Annie. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us. I know things are crazy right now, I'm sure, especially for you guys, being in medicine. Go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell us more about what you do and what you do with the Hawks Talent GC.
Absolutely. I am thrilled, as are my team, who you're going to meet briefly, to be a part of the Talents team. People are used to, in traditional sports, to having a team surrounding a team. It takes a lot of people to help the athletes perform at their very best. And so that's what we try to do for the Talents, whether it means preseason physicals, looking at what injuries they've had, how to prevent them, whether it's looking at things like sleep and rest and their habits. And Matt and Lauren will tell you more specifically what they do. But in the unfortunate case that an athlete would get hurt, or maybe they're holding their mouse or doing their keystroking in such a way that their tendons get all tight, just like in traditional athletes, our job is to return them safely back to their playing field, or court, if you will, Wes, as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Dr. Lopez, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So as Dr. Wright mentioned, I am the sports physical therapist. I've worked with the Hawks Talents. This is my second season with the team. So eSports, there's the same strains on the body as a lot of our traditional athletes. Hearing about the amount of screen time and the amount of chair time that these athletes are having to go through can be just as important to take care of the body. And I always say to invest in your health as well. So we want to make sure that they're able to perform on the field or on the court to the same capacity without having that nagging low back pain distract them from being able to perform at their best.
Awesome. And before I get to you, Lauren, I just want to let our participants know that you can actually submit questions for all of our guests using the Q&A feature down at the bottom of your screen, and make sure any questions you have. I know a lot of us could relate to some of these players right now by sitting at our computers and our TVs all day. So even if you guys have some personal questions for them, I'm sure they'd love to answer. And Lauren, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Lauren Cicinelli. I am the sports dietitian with Northside Hospital Sports Medicine. And in that role, I help athletes of all ages and abilities and in all different sports, including these esports athletes, help to support what they're doing in practice and in competition with their food and nutrition. So for esports athletes, especially, we're looking at their energy levels. Are they able to focus? Are they able to pay attention? And is their energy steady? Do they drop off towards the end of a game? And are they able to really go back and put all of that work that they've put into practice? Are they able to use that in their competition as well?
And if I want to add one thing, Annie, to what Lauren just said, it's a wonderful human interest story. For those of you who live in Buckhead, last year, Lauren actually physically took the Talons to the grocery store across the street, because these athletes are young people. They have maybe not had a lot of chance to really do this nutrition thing on their own. So if you go over to the grocery store right across the street there from our performance center in Buckhead, you may just see the Talons and Lauren shopping together and figuring out how to fuel their best performance. But it's a wonderful thing to watch.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure these are a lot of young guys who, like myself, sometimes don't really know what to get at the grocery store, especially right now. And Wes, before I get to our final guest, just tell me a little bit about how important this partnership with them has been for you guys.
It's extremely important. They help us out with a lot of stuff, like the main thing is nutrition and sleep, and posture. Those are three things that in our sport is really important. They're sitting around, they're not as active in this sport because they're sitting in one spot playing a video game. So they're able to bring us in, when things are normal, we're able to go to the center and actually work on some different exercises and stretches and different routines that could help with posture. Like Dr. Wright mentioned, they're able to take us to, the grocery store and show these guys how they can get some healthier snacks. So, and then, talking to them about sleep schedule, because a lot, in this sport, a lot of times we work some weird hours. We may play the game from 9 a.m. to 4:30 in the morning. So it's about getting some balance. So they're able to help us out in those areas, and it's really been beneficial to us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure the audience, as well as myself, are curious how you guys are communicating throughout this pandemic, because I'm sure there's still work to be done. I know, with the basketball players as well, they still have to talk to their doctors and dietitians and all that. So I'll be interested to find out more about that. But first, I'm going to introduce our final guest, which is Clint Kennedy, and he is the Director of Education at PlayVS.
Thank you for having me, and hello everyone. Appreciate the opportunity. So I've been working in public and private schools for about 20 years. I now work for PlayVS as the Director of Education. We are the premier high school and now in college esports organization. We provide platform and leagues around the country. We've partnered with the National Federation of High School Athletic Associations, and one of their members, the Georgia High School Association, has actually been with us for over 2 years. And we support high school teams in Georgia, over 100 teams who have been competing in fall and spring seasons, again, for the past 2 years. So super excited about the opportunity for students in Georgia and around the country, and very much hoping to help Wes and his team find that next great talent to win that championship.
So Clint, on a smaller level, how do you work with Coach Wes on a daily basis or weekly basis? What do you guys do together?
So Wes and I don't work directly together. So PlayVS really plays a role, again, in high schools and colleges around the country in providing league opportunities, but also educational opportunities on everything from how to get better at the particular game they're playing, all the way through some of the links to the standards in the curricula that we see, really around some of these new soft skills or 21st century skills, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, even creativity, how to get an edge in a game like NBA 2K and other popular esports titles.
That's great. All really important stuff for both esports and elsewhere. I want to remind
Absolutely.
people to go ahead and submit some questions, and we'll get into some of our questions that we have now. This first one is for Coach Wes. What's the biggest opportunity for improvement for the team this season?
We're constantly trying to improve our communication methods under, these remote situation that we're in. So building chemistry and communicating effectively is one of the biggest challenges. And then on the court, just being consistent. We want to practice good habits every day when we're playing in practice, and then have them translate to the games every time we go out there. So consistency, communication, and chemistry are the three things that we're focusing on most.
Awesome. And this question comes from Jeff Garcia, News for San Antonio. How do you handle the health side of the constant physical strain of constant traveling from Atlanta to New York during the regular season? And I think anyone can answer that question.
So it's something that in our
Well,
performance
I
center.
cannot.
Go ahead, Dr. Wright.
No, it's and please answer, Matt. You know what? From the very beginning, when I learned initially of the rigorous schedule that the athletes would be keeping every week, it's been something that's forefront on our mind. And I would talk to Michael and our contacts at the Talons about, they're leaving sometimes Wednesday, they're not getting back. When do they sleep? And we actually, when we screen the team, we capture their sleep cycles, because when we sleep is actually genetically predetermined. So if you're a really late night gamer and that's when your brain is at its best, but you're playing the next morning at 10 o'clock or something, those are the kinds of things that we have to talk through and adjust for. And I hope going forward, Wes, that as the team continues to be so successful, that if you need us, we could always help you with thinking through that sleep. The other thing that I loved what you said, Wes, was that it is the ritual and almost the ceremony that is so prevalent in traditional sports that is so important in this arena of sports too, because all those crazy superstitions and we do everything at the same time every day, that actually is scientifically proven to increase performance. So all those approaches, I just love hearing that you're doing that. So I'm sorry for interrupting you, Matt, but sleep is one of those things.
It certainly is, and it's something that the travel to New York, and I know the team played in Las Vegas last year, we were out there. A lot of the professional athletes on the traditional side are working with recovery tools. So they may be using Normatec boots, which are compression boots to help flush the legs, to help with recovery after a tough game, or on a flight to avoid swelling and kind of stiffness. The athletes with the Talons have the same tools that they're able to use here in Buckhead. So every week when they're stopping in to do their mobility work, to get their assessment, they spend time in our recovery lounge to make sure that their bodies are staying fresh, whether it's they were staying active playing basketball themselves and sprained an ankle, which happened last season. We want to make sure that we take care of that. But using the same tools that traditional pro athletes are using, our Hawks Talons are recovering with those same tools.
Awesome. Another question for you, Dr. Lopez. What are some tips or tricks while working from home when you get sore eyes or your hands cramp up or you're sore from sitting down all day?
It's a great question. As I've reopened some of the clinic and started seeing folks, we're seeing that quarantine is leading to eye strain, neck strain, low back from sitting in perhaps a dining room chair instead of your customized office chair that's in your usual office. So I love what Wes said about consistency. And I think that's a key when preventing some of these pains as well. So consistency and taking breaks. It's tougher. I was speaking with a client yesterday that when you're in the office, you have the opportunity to stand up and walk down the hall to talk to a coworker or walk to the break room. When you're at your home office, you're not getting up and out of your chair as often to do that. So whether it's setting a timer on your phone or saying every hour on the hour, I'm going to stand up and take a lap around the house, or when you start your Zoom call with your team, everybody do mobility work together for the first 2 minutes, building a consistent practice to make sure that we're not just stuck staring at the computer for 8 hours or longer.
Awesome. I'm going to go down to Clint. And I have a question about this too. Should parents place restrictions on their children's gaming while in quarantine? I know myself, I have to place restrictions because I could play Mario Kart or whatever it is for hours on end. So what do you think about that one?
So we talk about with coaches and state leaders and even students all the time about finding the right balance. Putting in specific restrictions certainly can be a parent's prerogative and can help, especially with students who struggle with finding that right balance. But we see as a real value. One of the reasons we love the fact that esports is now seen as kind of a first-class citizen in high schools in Georgia and around the country, is there's that coaching element, and that we're bringing the activity kind of above board. So there are conversations around what is appropriate practice time, how do you find the right nutrition and sleep schedule, and what are the advantages, all these things we're talking about here. When esports was seen more as something that students are doing locked away in their room or in the basement or what have you, there weren't those optics on it, and there weren't those opportunities to have the conversations with coaches, with parents, with their teammates and other people. So I think this idea of having it be a formal activity or sport really is important for esports overall. That doesn't mean that we don't still struggle with that. Like you said, Annie, I too often find myself hunched over the computer or playing for too long or working too long. So all these reminders are important. But if nothing else, I would encourage all parents who have children in their home who are participating in this, especially while they're home with COVID-19, to ask about the games, get involved, maybe even play the game. You don't have to necessarily be good at it, but involve yourself and understand the game and reach out and be part of this.
Awesome. I'll go down to Lauren. This question is from Andrew Friedman from the Signal at Georgia State University. As Coach West addressed earlier, this sport provides some quite unique, unorthodox hours. How have you been able to help the team plan out their diets and make sure they watch what they eat, particularly with late night snacks?
So diet, I think, as it is for a lot of people, and especially in this age group of really that independence, kind of this, 18 to 22-year-olds, it's finding what's going to work for them. My biggest thing is progress, not perfection. We're not going for a perfect diet for anybody. There is no perfect diet. We have to have that balance in our food just as we need it in everything else. So finding ways that we can make their food a little bit healthier, a little bit more nutritious. So, whether it is going to the grocery store, and that is something that we do. I take the team to the grocery store. We look through the food that's available to them. What are their skills too? So are they able to cook? Do they know how to cook? Or do we need to look at some of those convenience meals too? So things like already grilled chicken breasts are an easy option that can be a great part of a diet overall. Frozen vegetables that they can heat up quickly. Making those foods convenient is definitely a big thing. And then I think the other side of it too is, fast food and eating at restaurants is a big part of our lifestyle. And how do we make that a little bit healthier? So being in Atlanta, Chick-fil-A, of course, is very popular. So how do we make that just a little bit healthier? How do we make it a little more nutritious? So for me, my go-to at Chick-fil-A is grilled nuggets. I have to have the fries. If I'm going to go there, I'm going to get French fries. But then I pair it with the crunchy kale side as well. So I'm getting a little bit of that protein. I'm getting some carbohydrates, but I'm getting my vegetables at the same time. So finding that balance is the key. We're not going for perfection. We're just going to make things a little bit better.
Awesome. And then I will do a little 2-in-1 with Wes. Luke Willis wants to know, how many hours per day are you guys practicing? And then Jordan asked, what qualities do you look for in a player when scouting them?
Okay, so on a game like this one we have coming up right now, we are extra preparing. Not to say that we take any other opponent lightly, but we really want to zero in on some extra things we figured out we need to do against the Raptors. So a practice day today is going to be, by the end of the day, about 11 hours. So we're playing 3 series today against other teams to prepare for that, and then we'll have about an hour to 2 hour strategy session figuring out what the game plan is to go into tomorrow. So on a typical day, about 6 hours of practice time. Today is going to be somewhere between that 8 and 10 hours. and everybody's excited for it too. It doesn't feel like work because everybody's winning right now, so it feels good. So, we're just happy to prepare for that. And then the second question was the qualities that I look for in a player. Everything's about culture fit, and like I'm looking for people who are coachable. I'm looking for players who look like they have good team working skills and good communication skills and easy to get along and bond with the rest of the team. Players that seem like they can buy into a system. And then obviously, the stick skill and being able to play the game at a high level is extremely important. But it's, the other things are just as important. It matters that the 6 guys on the team all get along and play for each other and not just for themselves.
I'll throw this question to anyone on the Northside staff that wants to answer it. How has switching from travel based to playing in home, how has that changed how you guys prepare these players?
Well, I think not having to cross country every single week gives our players an opportunity to do exactly what now we've talked about several times, is to really have a routine that they can stick to have more control over their sleep, have more control over what they eat, to build the kind of repetitions they need to build on their winning record. I mean, it's really, really hard to travel for people. So the other opportunity it would give, and thankfully, and I always hate to say this out loud, not that I'm superstitious, but we've been in sports a long time, so we kind of are. It gives us an opportunity, if they need us, to work on them quicker. Thankfully, our players have been very healthy. And there I've said it, Wes, they've been very healthy. We've said it out loud. And I certainly hope they continue that way. But it just gives us more instant access. We are literally 10 minutes from some of these guys sometimes when they're on campus. Now they're home now. So it's the regularity of their schedules that's better.
And I'll throw this question to Clint. What are some examples of healthy and unhealthy online social behaviors, including interacting with other gamers?
So part of what we do is we wanted to address that and kind of bake that in up front. So again, when you have an eSports environment, be it 2K or other games that students are playing in a coached environment where they're practicing and competing in school, you have hopefully that culture and climate where it's addressing some of the healthy habits of mind and having healthy practices and so forth. Certainly, as we've all heard stories and one-offs, there can be issues when older people like myself are online and having interactions with new people or new communities. So again, having a esports based in this idea of a community that has a coach, that has teammates that they're responsible for, and to really help some of that. From a practical standpoint too, all of the leagues that we operate and all of the games that we run, all of the communications between players and between other teams is all captured. So there's, if and when on those very rare occasions, something needs to be addressed, we follow the same channels as we would, be this a basketball game or a softball game, and address, questions of sportsmanship or what have you that way. So again, the way that we're operating and providing opportunities to students, it's not the Wild West. We're not just sending them out there and saying good luck. We're providing scaffolding and context in a coached environment for them to be able to succeed and grow and hopefully get to the professional level at some point.
That's great. One more question here for Wes, at least for right now. This is from Christian at dimer2k.com. With the amount of time that pro esports players need to dedicate to their craft, what unique challenges do players on your roster face while also trying to practice self-care? Also, what do they do outside of playing NBA 2K to stay active?
I think it's a little bit different now under the circumstances, but normally, I have a few guys that like to go to LA Fitness and other gyms and play basketball. They do other things, so I think it's been a little bit of a challenge right now being able to do those sorts of things. Everyone having to kind of stay home, but hopefully we can, return to normal again soon, and guys can get back to their regular routines. They really love regular sports. So hopefully they can return to playing some of that soon.
And is there anything that you recommend, or maybe we could go down to Lauren or Dr. Lopez, that they can do to take care of themselves, especially in a day like you said today, they're going to be playing 8 to 10 hours?
Yeah. Are you speaking to me again, Annie? I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead, and then we can go down to Dr. Lopez as well.
I was just going to say the main thing is if we can keep attacking their sleep schedule mainly, that's the main thing that gets affected, especially being at home and kind of having more time to be on the game. You'll kind of lose track of time playing. But aside from that, we try to also take some of the advice that their team gives us, and we try and send groceries to the guys every 2 weeks or so to make sure that we keep some of those healthy options available for them. Since we do practice so much, we're sending them waters and fruits and different stuff like that, and just trying to keep them with as many healthy options as possible under the circumstances.
And something that we promote when they are able to come in is working out in that team aspect. So, and that could go for our high school gamers as well. If they have a team, as Clint was mentioning, that they are playing with, if you're playing esports together, then no reason you can't go out and be active together as well. So whether that is going into LA Fitness together, or when the guys come into our clinic, we take them through mobility work, we take them through a workout. Some days it's as early as 10 a.m., which you would think is the crack of dawn for some of these athletes. But as those sleep schedules are starting to normalize, that's helping. But I think that just building camaraderie amongst the team and helping to support each other. Some esports athletes may be more prone towards traditional sports than other esports athletes. So meeting each other where you're at, whether it's going for a walk, going for a bike ride, any of that kind of activity can be very beneficial.
And I will throw this final question to Dr. Wright, and then if you guys have anything else before we close. What is the most important thing you have taught both professional athletes and e-athletes? I know it's kind of a generic question, but whatever you think is best.
Well, I think that what we've taught them are the tools that will help them endure. Meaning, you know, when you're a good athlete, whether you're a traditional athlete or you're a gaming athlete, that is recognized really early in your life. And you can be coached and you can be developed, but along the way, and I'm sure Clint will agree with this, and Wes, and certainly Matt and Lauren, sometimes too much is too much, and we need to develop the other aspects. Sometimes we think that the skill of the actual game is the only thing that's necessary for success, and sometimes young people don't have the wisdom and the wherewithal to understand that becoming a professional athlete is not only about your God-given talent, it's about how it's developed, what you learn along the way, and how you take care of your body so that you aren't injured young, and it prevents you from reaching your full potential. So sometimes what our job as a medical team or as a player developer or as a coach is all about is adding the wisdom, not only to the child, if you will, or the young athlete, but to the parents and the support system to say, here's how your athlete is going to have longevity. You don't want to only be a pro for 1 year. You want a 14 or 15-year career. And that takes consistent planning, whether you're a child or a college athlete, or even as a young pro. Those tools for longevity are vital.
Yeah, I know that, I don't know the exact amount of years, but the average NBA career is only like 4 to 6 years or something like that, due to not being able to maintain all those proper habits. And then we got one last question in for Clint, and we touched on this a little bit, but what exactly would you say are some examples of healthy and unhealthy online social behaviors? And then they added including interacting with other gamers.
Yeah, I think we covered some of that, but a big part of what we're trying to do is help build community. A lot of the social experience for young people is becoming more and more centered around games. Again, NBA 2K, but other really popular esports titles that are out there. So they're seeking out and finding community out there. If we're not part of this as part of our structured systems, be it school or amateur leagues or other stuff, then we're missing opportunities to help guide that, as was mentioned, in some of the skill development. But I would say social and emotional development for our young people as well. Those as we see gamers get better and increase their opportunities to succeed, those can be just as much of a something that holds them back or launches them into more success as stick skills, as Wes mentioned, or some of these other traits. So paying attention to all these components, and certainly there are ways for parents to address that. I won't get into any specifics. Each household is run a little differently, but I can't stress enough being involved and understanding both what a student is doing, what their aspirations and goals are, what they're trying to get out of this, and then also helping them find a community or context that's safe, so that we can limit the possibilities of something negative happen, and then prop up and help provide experiences for all these positives that we've been talking about for now and the future. We don't want to slow down this wonderful growth and opportunity that's spreading like wildfire around the country for more young people to be able to join formal teams to compete, find community, have fun, and hopefully build some of these social emotional skills.
Yeah, it's a really great opportunity for young people. And we talked a lot about how we're all sitting a lot right now, but that's what esports athletes and avid gamers do a lot. Dr. Lopez, this might cause you to have to get up or something, but what are some good stretches that you recommend to get the blood flowing and get us moving, even for us people who are just sitting all day?
Absolutely. It's a great question, and one that we've come across often these days, as everybody is sitting oftentimes. So easy stretches that you can do can be as simple as standing up and doing some body squats, doing some lunges down the hallway, extending through the back. So as you're standing, thinking, I'm going to extend through my back to just get out of that flexed position that a lot of chairs will leave us in, especially with some of our esports athletes that get so into the game. We find them in this kind of forward position through here, which can lead to a lot of neck pain and low back pain. So really, I like to say motion is lotion. There's no perfect strategy when it comes to exercise, but it's just getting up and moving that's really going to make the biggest difference. But certainly reaching out to a physical therapist such as myself or a performance coach. We're doing a lot of telehealth options these days. So if you have pain, reach out, and we're more than happy to work with you via telehealth, very safe, to set up a productive strategy for you.
Great. I will remember that one after I work a whole day. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Coach Wes and the Northside Hospital Sports Medicine Network, and of course, Clint at PlayVS. Thank you guys for joining us. This was very informative, and hopefully we can have a few more of these upcoming, and thanks for your time. A big thanks to everyone who tuned in for our first virtual gaming and esports Q&A. We will continue with remote gameplay tomorrow as we take on the undefeated Raptors Uprising GC. You can join us on the ESPN app, YouTube, or Twitch. You can stay up to date with all things Hawks Talon by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, which is all at Hawks Talon GC. Thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you again soon.